5 spine-chilling Catskills Mountain tales exposing terrifying secrets and cursed hauntings. Emily had never dreamed she would be back in Pine Hollow. The creaky old house loomed before her like a ghost, memories buried deep within its walls. She hesitated, feeling the weight of something sinister nestled among the familiar shadows. The town's comfort was deceptive, hiding the unsettling secrets of the mountains surrounding it. As she and her 7-year-old daughter, Julia, stepped inside, the air thickened with whispers of old tales. Cold dread slithered down Emily's spine. Something was waiting, and it knew them. Unpacking was a struggle. Boxes were scattered everywhere, filled with remnants of her childhood and remnants of nightmares she'd hoped to forget. The attic, she remembered, was where she and her father used to play. But what they'd unearthed there felt far from innocent. Among dusty old toys and tattered books, Emily found a series of cryptic notes, written hurriedly in a scrawl that sent chills racing through her. The autumn brings the shadows. They will take what you hold dear. Each word breathed life into legends about cursed haunts preying on families during the fall months. Goosebumps prickled her skin. This was a small town, but the stories harbored a darkness that gnawed at her resolve. Before she could dismiss the notes, strange things began to happen. Flickering lights, swaying trees outside the window, distant whispers of her daughter's name curling through the night air. The townsfolk, while friendly, shifted nervously when she brought up her father's past. Their eyes flitted toward the woods, as if the whispers, the anecdotes, and the unspoken fears lay tangled between the trees. Emily felt the shadows closing in. One evening, as a mist rolled in thick and heavy from the mountains, Julia bounded into the room, eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, I met a new friend," she exclaimed, her face aglow with something eerie. "He comes from the woods when the sun goes away." Emily chuckled, but her heart tripped over itself. Her daughter was too young to be wandering alone, even in her imagination. When Julia kept sneaking glances at the trees, giving off a sense of longing, Emily's laughter faded into unease. "What's his name, Julia?" she asked, masking her concern. The little girl simply shrugged, her gaze distant. "He says we'll play forever." That got her. A twinge of panic coursed through Emily. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from the haunting thoughts. "Before we continue," she said, regaining some strength, "I need to tell you something important. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And leave a like. It helps me so much. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now, let us continue. But dread settled back in as Emily gazed at Julia. The innocent joy of childhood had morphed into something strange, her daughter talking to shadows in the dead of night. Concern turned into desperation. The other parents, who once welcomed them back, grew distant and cold, their smiles brittle as they shielded secrets buried deep in Pine Hollow. When Julia went missing one night, the tension in the air thickened to suffocation. Heart racing, Emily stormed through the town, clinging to hope. The neighbors she once trusted vanished into specters, their eyes darting with unspoken dread. She yelled for her daughter, but only an ominous silence replied. Shadows loomed larger, twisting and writhing around her as she felt the weight of the town's secrets pressing down heavily. In that darkness, a low growl rumbled from the trees, a whisper coated in malice. She had to find Julia before the town's hidden legacy seized her daughter. But who could she trust? And what about the innocent face of a child's new friend lurking in the trees? The dread pulsed through her. She had awakened. Something dark, and it was hungry. Emily's chest tightened in panic, her breath short and sharp. The shadows seemed to shift, pulsating with an almost sentient hunger, and every rustle of leaves turned into an accusation. She felt as though the trees were watching her, waiting, whispering secrets only they knew. Julia. The name echoed through the cold air, swallowed by the night. Every window in the houses she passed felt like dark eyes staring back at her. The once friendly faces of the townsfolk now seemed like masks worn over dread. How could they sit there in silence when her daughter was missing? Suddenly, she spotted a flicker of movement near the tree line at the edge of town. Emily surged forward, heart racing, her sneakers slapping against the cracked pavement. She reached the trees and skidded to a halt, peering into the suffocating dark that enveloped the woods. It felt alive, breathing, shifting, its darkness beckoning. As she stepped closer, a strange chill swept through the air. A silhouette darted within the trees, trailing the mist like a phantom. Emily squinted, trying to make it out. "Julia?" she called, voice trembling, almost swallowed by the forest's whispers. The shadow paused, then twisted toward her. It was a child, but not quite, eyes gleaming in an unnatural way like twin moons reflecting madness. "Mommy, I'm playing." Julia's voice sang out, eerie and sweet, but distorted, as if cascading through a deep tunnel. Emily's pulse hammered in her ears. "No. No, Julia, come back." She could barely hold back tears, fear coiling around her heart. "Stay where you are." The figure turned, its laughter ringing through the night, a hollow, chilling melody that knotted in her gut. Emily fought against the primal urge to run, forcing her feet to keep stepping closer. "Julia, please. You need to come to me." The laughter stopped, and a whisper, soft yet sharp as knives, swept over the clearing. "He says we're having fun." Blood froze in Emily's veins. Memories bubbled up from the depths of her mind, her father's warnings about the woods, the stories of those who had been taken. Suddenly, the trees rustled violently, and a low growl rumbled through the air. Not the growl of a wild animal, but something darker and far more sinister. "Time to join us, Mommy." Julia's eyes glinted with something ancient that sent waves of terror crashing over Emily. Overwhelmed with fear yet fueled by desperation, Emily lunged forward. She couldn't let her daughter be snatched away by this thing disguised as her child. "Julia! Run to me!" The shadowy form swayed, a grotesque copy of her daughter, torn between the pull of the woods and the warmth of human love. For a split second, it hesitated. And in that moment, a primal instinct rose within Emily, the urge to fight for her daughter overtaking any remnants of fear. She charged, arms outstretched, ready to reclaim her child. But just as she reached the ghostly figure, a cold force slammed into her, throwing her back against a tree. A darkness enveloped her, pressing down, thick and suffocating. She gasped, searching for Julia's familiar shape among the shadows as panic seized her heart. "No! Julia, don't let it take you." The eerie laughter echoed once more, drowning out her cries. The trees seemed to twist and reach out, branching fingers curling toward her, a blackened embrace meant to seal Emily's fate as well. And then everything fell silent. But the echo of Julia's laughter lingered, intertwining with the shadows outside. Where was her daughter now, really? The forest held secrets deeper than she imagined, and with each passing moment, Emily felt herself slipping further away from reality. Emily's chest heaved as she blinked against the darkness, struggling to shake off the weight pressing down on her body. The stillness felt wrong, too heavy. Each rustle of the leaves echoed louder, each silence screamed louder. Where was Julia? Panic clawed at her throat. The oppressive gloom began to fade, giving way to spectral shapes lurking at the edge of her vision. Damning glances slipped through the cracks in the shadows. Faces, once familiar, flickered between the trees like phantoms in the moonlight. They were watching her, judging her, waiting for something, for her to break. With a sudden burst of defiance, Emily pushed herself up, the rough bark of the tree scratching her skin. She could not surrender. Not now. Not when she could feel her daughter out there, her laughter ringing in her ears but growing faint, like a tune she no longer recognized. "Julia!" She shouted again, desperation churning her stomach. But the only response was the wind, cold and cruel, whispering threats of despair. Emily's heart sank deeper. What was happening to her little girl? She forced her legs to move, stumbling deeper into the woods where the moonlight dimmed and shadows thickened. The air felt alive around her, pulsing with something ancient, something sinister. She heard them again, children's voices, mingled with Julia's sweet timbre, calling, beckoning her toward the heart of darkness. "Mommy, come join us." Emily froze, the sound wrapping around her like a noose. The voice was wrong. The laughter was off, a melody twisted by malice and mischief. Each step toward the sound felt like stepping into a trap. Every instinct screamed at her to run, and yet, the love for her child pulled at her relentlessly. "Please, no," she breathed, tears brimming in her eyes as she hesitated. She was a mom, she would go where her daughter was. She fought against the chilling dread that wrapped around her mind, forcing herself to take another step. Suddenly, the laughter twisted into a shrill cackle echoing through the woods, and the ground trembled underfoot. Emily stumbled, feeling as if the earth itself was warning her to turn back. Dark shapes darted around her, circling like vultures, waiting for their moment to strike. Fear clawed at her chest. She couldn't let them take her child. "Julia!" The word thundered in her ears, desperation cracking her voice. The laughter stopped. Silence draped itself over the forest again, suffocating, thick. Emily strained her ears, heart pounding. Then, a low, melodic voice broke through. "We're waiting, Mommy. Come play with us." That voice. It wrapped around her, soothing and disturbing at the same time. It was close now. "No, sweetheart, I won't leave you," she cried. In an instant, the shadows danced, and from them emerged a child, but not her Julia. This one was an amalgamation of everything sweet and everything vile, a grotesque mimic of what once was pure. The child stood there, with darkened eyes that glimmered with chaotic hunger. "Join us," it sang, and in its gaze, she saw her fear reflected tenfold, as if it had fed off her doubts and claimed them as its own. Emily gasped, the chill cutting straight through her spine. No! She could feel the darkness closing in, could taste it on her tongue. Each whisper became more tantalizing, pulling her deeper into their world. Just then, the ground beneath her gave way. The earth opened like a mouth, swallowing her whole. Grabbing at roots and shrublings, Emily struggled to hold on. "I will not let go." But the shadows surged forth with a sentience all their own. They tugged at her limbs, pulling her closer to the abyss. With one last desperate cry for her daughter, the world turned upside down. And everything went black. What awaited her at the bottom of that pit? Darkness shrouded her next steps, but faint echoes lingered, whispers of what lay beneath, the truth intertwined with the shadows. Emily's body hit the ground hard, pain exploding through her limbs as she slid down the damp earth. The world around her remained shrouded in darkness. Distant whispers echoed against the walls of her mind, urging her to surrender. Caught between consciousness and an unyielding void, she pulled herself to her feet, shaking off the disorientation that threatened to engulf her. "Julia!" The name tore from her throat, a desperate invocation that dissipated into the surrounding silence. She struggled to adjust her eyes to the dim glow ahead, a flicker of light that beckoned as if it knew her yearning. Each step was laced with uncertainty, the ground squelched beneath her feet. Shadows flicked around her, their forms changing like smoke on the wind. Every breath brought with it the suffocating scent of decay. A soft giggle pierced through the murk light as a feather, yet heavy with malevolence. It whispered secrets, drawing her deeper into the abyss. "Mommy, come play." The voice was familiar, but twisted, laced with something sickeningly sweet. She hesitated, eyes squinting against the meager light. The dim glow now more tangible, illuminating a clearing pierced by ghostly figures. Children, pale and hollow-eyed, danced in a haunting circle. Their joy was wrong, mockery etched into each movement as they beckoned for her to join. "Julia?" Tears streamed down her face, each drop mingling with the dirt as emotion twisted her gut. One child stepped forward, its features unmistakable. Julia's face was there, but her expression was frayed, eyes gleaming with mischief that was foreign to Emily. "Mommy! Don't you want to be with us?" Emily's heart lurched. It wasn't her daughter, not truly. The resemblance taunted her. "You're not her." The laughter from the children swelled, drowning her voice. They clawed at the air, their need palpable. The shadows snaked closer, wrapping around her, hissing secrets that pricked her skin. Panic surged as she felt the darkness curling within her chest, heavy and invasive. Surrounding her, the children began to chant. "Join us! Join us!" Their voices became a superb chorus, merging into a voice that vibrated through her bones. It clamored for her will, tugging at her sanity. Emily fell to her knees, clamming her hands over her ears in a desperate attempt to drown them out. But the moment of rebellion shattered as she glimpsed Julia's wide-eyed expression within the swirling mass. There was fear beneath the twisted mirth, a plea begging to be freed from whatever cursed grip held her. "Stop! Let her go!" Emily bellowed, her resolve igniting a flicker of defiancy. For a split second, the laughter ceased. A shimmer of hope ignited in her heart. Was it working? But that hope was cold and brittle, crushed under the weight of the twisted shadows gathering in their depths. The children shifted, ranks forming and closing in around her. Whispers turned into shrieks, crescendoing into a tempest of sound. "Join us! Join us!" rattled off the trees, louder and more frenzied. Straining against the tide of malevolence, Emily stood firm. "I want tea!" she screamed, feeling her voice crack in the clamor. At that moment, the ground shook beneath her again, the earth vibrating with fury. The light flickered and dimmed. Emily was thrust back, blood pounding in her ears, vision blurring with panic. She felt the power of their call trying to pull her under. Grabbing hold of the nearest shadowy whisper, she shouted, "You will not take her from me." Then, with an eruption of darkness, the world collapsed once more, folding into a dense wave of black. Emily was thrust into a pit of silence, her heart racing, pounding like a trapped animal. But a new sound emerged, low and mismatched, like something slithering just out of sight. The children's laughter turned ominous, reverberating through the void. And from the darkness, a voice crept forward, "You think you can save her, but the game has only just begun." What awaited her in this new dark, in this sinister game? Emily gasped, the air thick and putrid as the darkness enveloped her. She felt herself floating, weightless, suspended between the frayed threads of reality and something far more sinister. The shuddering sensation of loss wrapped around her, constricting tighter with every passing moment. "Mommy," the familiar voice echoed, but now it was distorted, an unsettling echo reverberating in the chasms of the night. Julia's name danced on her lips, but dread crushed the words. She was slipping away, deep into a murky realm where shadows were not just voids but sentient beings, hungry and waiting. In the pitch black, the ground came alive beneath her feet, pulsating like a beating heart. It throbbed and churned, creating a rhythm that resonated through her bones. Each beat whispered promises and threats, an invitation laced with malice. Suddenly, the darkness peeled back like a curtain, revealing a warped tableau. The pale children stood before her again, their faces now adorned with wicked grins, stretching wider than nature would allow. Their eyes glinted with an otherworldly light that chilled her to the core. "Play with us, Mommy," they chanted, a chorus of mirthless joy. The shadows around them writhed, reaching out, taunting her with their ghostly fingertips. Emily staggered back, terror flooding her senses. But one figure emerged from the crowd, a twisted silhouette of her daughter. "Mommy, please." Julia's voice trembled, a fragile remnant of the girl Emily knew. The essence of innocence flickered, dimmed by something darker. "Help me. Hold on, sweetheart," Emily cried, adrenaline surging through her. But how could she fight something that thrived on fear? Each pulse from the ground felt like a warning, beating deep into her soul. A sinister wind rushed past her, sharp and cold. It swirled around Emily, carrying with it the scent of death, sharp and pungent. She stumbled, feeling her footing give way beneath her. In that instant, tendrils of darkness lashed out, wrapping around her ankles like a serpent tightening its grip. "Join us!" the children sang, raising their arms as if summoning eternal night. Their eyes glimmered with a cold hunger, waves of malevolence crashing over Emily's resolve. Panic clawed at her throat, she didn't want to be part of their sick game. Then she remembered the stories of the mountain that had been passed down through generations. Dark spirits trapped in eternal play, feeding off despair and fractured souls. She had to break the cycle. She had to save Julia. "No!" Emily shouted, forcing the certainty from her heart into her voice. "I will never join you." The air shuddered as if the children had felt her defiance. The laughter twisted, an echo of fury mixed with mirth. They stomped their feet, shaking the ground. She could sense the shadows recoiling, confusion rippling through the crowd. With a fierce scream that echoed through the temple of darkness, Emily lunged towards the apparition of Julia. "I'm coming for you." But just as she reached out, the ground erupted beneath her. It swallowed her whole, drawing her down into a gaping maw that seemed to extend infinitely. Her scream was lost, devoured by the void. As she tumbled through the darkness, images flashed before her eyes, past memories of laughter, warmth, and love intertwined with coarse shadows, each moment tainted by despair. Then, she landed. But this wasn't the ground. It felt alive, writhing beneath her fingers as she pushed herself up. The darkness began to thin, and a horizon of flickering lights emerged ahead. The voice came again, taunting and twisted. "You think you're the hero, Emily? This is only the beginning." Fear curled in the pit of her stomach as she stood, staggering towards the lights. And there, in the distance, she saw a figure draped in shadow, staring back at her. Not Julia, but something more threatening, more unspeakable. What could it want? Emily's breath caught as she realized, this entity was waiting and the game had only just escalated. What horrors lay ahead, and was there any chance of escape? The darkness beckoned. Anew, a siren's call tainted with dread. The closer Emily approached the figure, the more her heart raced. Shadows danced around her, pulsing like an angry ocean, eager to drag her back into their depths. She felt the cold clawing at her skin, piercing through her resolve. The lights flickered, illuminating the figure, twisting it into a grotesque version of what she might hope to find. "Emily," it hissed, the name slithering off its tongue like venom. The weight of its voice pressed down upon her, suffocating and thick, as if the darkness itself conspired to silence her panic. Emily's knees buckled slightly, and she fought against the urge to cower. "What do you want?" she managed to stammer, her voice trembling but fierce. The figure stepped forward, resolving into a creature of horror, long and spindly, covered in tar-like sludge that dripped as it moved. Its eyes were endless voids, reflecting nothing but an insatiable hunger, the very essence of her fear. It was the embodiment of everything she had been running from, everything she feared would consume Julia. "You seek your daughter," it crooned, voice like silk wrapping around an iron hand, "but this place, it feeds on desires, Emily. To save her, you'll have to give in to despair." Emily's mind raced. This was a game, a trap set to ensnare her spirit. "I won't let you take her," she shouted, feeling strength boiling up within her. "Each choice has a price," the creature replied, its smile spreading unnaturally wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "In this twisted playground, hope is currency, and you have very little left. Which will you sacrifice? Your dreams? Your memories? Or shall we play for your soul?" Images invaded her mind once more, the laughter shared in the kitchen, birthday candles flickering, the sound of her daughter's voice singing in the shower. They were memories now under siege, drawn into the realm of shadows where the creature lurked. "I'll never sacrifice anything," Emily yelled, trying to shake off the crushing realization that each memory was tethered to her hope. "I refuse to let you have them." The creature recoiled momentarily, infuriated. The sound that erupted from it was a chilling howl, rising and falling like the distant wails of lost souls, the other children. Was it true? Were they trapped like Julia? Emily took a step back but quickly steadied herself. No more retreat. She could feel the storm of despair lurking at the corners of her heart, but she had to push past that. The creature lunged, its arms stretching unnaturally, threatening to cover her in its darkness. At that moment, she saw a flickering light, emanating from behind it. Julia's voice cut through the haze. "Mommy! Help me! Julia!" Emily screamed. She could feel the overwhelming love pulsing through her, a force potent enough to rival the creature's darkness. Fueled by that love, she charged forward, thrusting her hands toward the light, reaching, willing herself to save her daughter. Time skewed, the shadows whirled around her as the ground beneath writhed in fury. Then, with a sudden, blinding flash, everything froze. For an agonizing moment, Emily was suspended not in the air, but stuck in the void of choice. Would she sacrifice herself? Or would she save Julia? And with that thought, freezing her in place, the creature laughed, a sound that echoed off the walls of her mind. "Choose," it said, the suggestion heavy, threaded with treachery. The horizon of light dimmed, and in that chilling breath, every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Was this where her story would end? Or would another chapter unfold in the dark? Emily's thoughts shattered with urgency and terror, her desperation eclipsing the shadows. In that moment, she realized she held the power to rewrite her narrative, but at what cost? The world around Emily blurred into a haze of gray, the pulsating shadows swirling like a storm closing in on her. All she could focus on was the light emanating from behind the creature, a beacon of hope and the only connection to her daughter. "Choose," the creature hissed again, its voice curling around her like a snake, each word dripping with malice. She felt her chest tightening, panic clawing at her throat. She had to make a decision, but the options were as murky as the creature's own form. "Sacrifice your love," it whispered seductively, "and I will let her go, as if you never existed in her life." The ground beneath her trembled. Emily's heart raced. What would she become without her daughter? An empty husk, haunted by memories that taunted her every step. "Stop!" she shouted, grounding herself as the shadows swirled around her, threatening to engulf her. "You think you can intimidate me with despair? I'm stronger than you think." The creature's grin faltered, its jagged teeth clacking together as if confused by her defiance. It wasn't used to beings challenging its authority, especially in this dark abyss. The light flickered again. "Mommy, help me." Julia's voice echoed, sweet and pure but trembling with fear. Each cry struck her like a dagger, sharp and unforgiving. Fury ignited within Emily. Was it a trick? The darkness thrummed around her, eager to consume her spirit, and yet she felt the warmth of love rising, filling the void where despair threatened to settle. "I choose to fight," she yelled. "I'll fight for every last bit of love I have." The creature recoiled, fury dancing in its void-like eyes. "Foolish mother. Love is but a fragile thing, a fleeting whim that these shadows shall crush." But Emily felt a rising confidence, bubbling like a wellspring of truth. She lunged towards the light, using her own memories, the birthday parties, the bedtime stories as fuel. They surged in her chest, charging her forward with a wild, unstoppable force. Suddenly, the shadows around her began to convulse, the creature writhing as if caught in a storm. "No!" it shrieked, and for the first time, Emily saw fear reflected in its depthless gaze. As she broke through the barrier of darkness, she felt the warmth intensify, enveloping her. The grotesque figure melted away, replaced by a vision of radiant light standing before her, a silhouette of her daughter, filled with innocence and hope. "Mommy, I knew you would come," Julia cried, reaching out with tiny arms. The warmth of love washed over Emily, a cleansing wave that lightened her soul. But before they could embrace, the creature's voice roared from behind them, echoing across the chasm of darkness, furious and desperate. "You've not won. You will pay." The light trembled, flickering as if threatened, the warmth wavering against the icy fingers of the creature's wrath. Emily's heart sank. The battle was far from over. With every ounce of her being, she transformed that light into a shield, desperately pushing against the shadows that twisted and writhed, trying to claim her. "Not today!" She screamed, the despair pressing against her, but she pushed back, the love for her daughter surging through her as if carried by the winds. But then, a deep rumble echoed through the shadows. The ground split open, fissures forming that pulsed ominously with darkness. The walls around them trembled, threatening to collapse. As Emily clung to the light with Julia beside her, she felt a shift. Was the creature truly gone? Or was it merely lying in wait for an opening? "Mommy, the light is fading." Julia's voice trembled, fear creeping back into her tone. "No. I won't let it. I won't lose you." As shadows reached for them, Emily made a fateful decision. Would she dive deeper into the light, risking it all for Julia's sake? And amidst the chaos, the creature's laughter echoed once more, a sound that chilled Emily to her very core. "You think this is over?" This is only the beginning. In that moment, the shadows closed in tighter, and the light flickered dangerously. What price would she have to pay to keep her daughter safe? Could she free them both, or would they be entwined in the darkness forever? Emily gasped as the shadows lunged closer, tendrils reaching with icy fingers. The world around them spiraled, the ground trembling under the weight of an unseen force. She felt the light begin to dim, its warmth slipping away. "Mommy, help!" Julia's voice was a desperate wail, pleading through the darkness. It echoed in Emily's mind like a countdown, each note laced with urgency and fear. With every second, the distance between them and the encroaching shadows collapsed further. "No! Not now!" Emily cried, clenching her fists. The pulse of the light quickened, its flickering growing more frantic as if aware of the danger closing in. The dark figure roared, a sound that felt like teeth scraping against metal, sending chills racing down Emily's spine. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of voices that seemed to rise from the depths of nightmares. "You cannot escape. You will fall into the void, Mother." Summoning every ounce of strength, Emily turned to Julia, desperation flooding her veins. "We're getting out of here, sweetie. Just hold my hand. Trust me." With a resolute pull, she grasped Julia's small hand. The moment their skin touched, a surge of warmth shot through them, igniting an angry flame that countered the encroaching darkness. At that moment, the bond they shared became palpable, a living force that pushed against the shadows. Rushing forward, they hurtled towards the flickering light, but as they did, the ground roared with a new sound, an earth-shattering roar that echoed through the air like the cries of 1,000 forsaken souls. Fissures opened wider, consuming the ground beneath them, creating a chasm that drew nearer and nearer. "Run!" Emily shouted, her heart hammering painfully in her chest. She could feel the dread wrapping around them, like an endless shroud. How could love stand against such darkness? Was it even possible? The creature howled, a heart-wrenching sound filled with rage, making Emily's blood run cold. "You think your love can save you? I will tear apart every memory you hold dear." Emily felt it every sweet moment with Julia now felt like a weight holding her back, pulling her deeper into despair. Her heart was caught between hope and the suffocating fear of being consumed. With a determination she didn't realize she could still muster, she shouted back, "You're wrong. Love is stronger than you'll ever understand." As they neared the light, it began to pulse, surging like a heartbeat, each thrum pushing back against the shadows. The creature visibly reeled, but it was still there, lingering, lurking like a predator in the dark. "Mommy." Julia's voice was tinged with sobs, every ounce of her trust hanging delicately in the air. They were so close, yet the darkness clawed at their backs, eager to drag them down. Then, Emily noticed something. Among the chaos, the creature was losing its shape. Its dark form was flickering, fractured, as if the light was slowly eating away at it. Could it be? The realization sent a thrill of hope racing through her. "Just a little further, Julia. We can do this," Emily urged, pulling them towards the light with every fiber of her being. With a final heave, they leaped towards the glowing beacon. It enveloped them, bright and blinding, a refuge against the consuming shadows. But as the darkness receded, she felt a presence behind her. The creature's hiss returned, cold and furious. "You may escape for now, but I will come back for you and I will tear you apart." The light held firm, yet an icy fear clutched at Emily's heart. They were safe, but not free. The creature had made its threat, its promise of vengeance echoing in her mind. "Mommy, what will happen now?" Julia trembled beside her, eyes wide with confusion. Emily's gut twisted with uncertainty. "I don't know, but we have to be ready." She turned, scanning the landscape of light, her heart racing. The shadows might be pushed back for now, but the ominous forest beyond held too many secrets. What lay ahead? What price would they have to pay to keep the creature at bay? As the air filled with an icy whisper, a new dread unfurled in her heart. What if this wasn't just the beginning of terror but a haunting cycle set to repeat? What darkness lurked just beyond the edge of the light? With resolve, she held Julia close, knowing that the nightmare was far from over. The light pulsed a fierce white around them, but Emily's heart still raced with dread. Shadows lurked at the edges, pulsating with a life of their own, waiting to draw them back into the darkness. She could feel their cold breath, like fog creeping under her skin. "Why is it still here?" Julia whispered, her small voice trembling. Emily could see fear dancing in her daughter's eyes, a terror mirrored in her own heart. Before she could respond, an unsettling crack echoed through the air, like the snapping of bones. Tendrils of darkness writhed, probing the edges of the light, slithering like snakes seeking warmth. Emily's instincts screamed to take cover, but there was nowhere to hide. "It's trying to get back in," Emily said, barely able to keep the tremor from her voice. "We have to find a way to reinforce the light." Together, they stepped into the brightness. It flickered, sending little sparks dancing around them. "What do we do?" Julia pressed closer to her side, tiny fingers clutching Emily's shirt. Emily closed her eyes, drawing the warmth of the light into her. "We have to focus. Remember the happiest moments, the moments we shared," she instructed, her voice shaking but insistent. "Like the park and when you read me stories?" Julia said, her voice stronger now. "Yes. Just like that." As Julia began to recall their memories, Emily joined in, a wave of warmth surging around them. The light pulsed stronger, shining like a beacon against the clawing shadows. But then, a horrifying realization hit her. What if those memories held the same power for the creature? What if it could twist them, turning love into a weapon against them? With a fierce urgency, she began to shout. "You can't take our memories. They're ours. You don't own our joy." The shadows recoiled, screeching in a high pitch that sliced through the air. The darkness twisted, contorting into grotesque shapes, each one a haunting reminder of what they were trying to escape. Suddenly, a deep laugh erupted, echoing through the distorted shadows. "To escape is futile. I feed on your fears, your memories. They will only strengthen me." The ground shook beneath them as the darkness surged forward again, hungry and relentless. Emily's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She turned to Julia, seeing the confusion and uncertainty on her daughter's face. We We must push back. Fight. Don't let it in. Julia cried, her eyes wide with terror. But the shadows were everywhere now, swirling into something more solid, a new dark form that loomed higher and higher, resembling a nightmarish version of Emily herself, a ghostly doppelganger. See what you truly are. The creature whispered, its tone a chilling mix of triumph and malice. A mother who can't protect her child. Stop. Emily shouted, but doubt dug deep into her heart like roots. The creature's words carved through her defenses. Could she really protect Julia? Memories of every moment she failed seemed to rush forward, shadows of her own failures casting a chill over her resolve. No! She shouted, a scream filled with defiance, grasping Julia's hand tighter. We are stronger together. With a surge of determination, they focused all the love they had, fighting against the creature's illusion. The light swelled, but the shadows surged like a tidal wave, threatening to drown out their collective will. The moment hung in tension, the air thick with fear and fading hope. Emily felt herself teetering, her strength waning, the shadows threatening to envelop their light. Suddenly, from somewhere beyond the veil of darkness, a sound echoed. A haunting melody, soft at first, grew louder, a song of liberation, a song that promised safety. Emily's heart caught. Mommy! Julia's voice pierced through the cacophony. Listen! But as the song crested, a shadow shot toward them, eyes blazing with rage, hungry for despair. Get back! Emily shouted, pushing Julia behind her just as the darkness lunged. They staggered, light flickering. Could they really escape? As the dark presence wrapped around her, choking the warmth away, Emily's last thought spiraled into chaos, a chilling realization that maybe, just maybe, the only way to win was to face the dark figure head-on. Was she ready to confront it? The hysterical scream of the creature rang in her ears, and everything threatened to spiral out of control. Would the light protect them long enough? Or would the shadows consume them whole? As the dark force tightened, Emily felt the truth clamping down like a vice. The creature howled, "You can't break free. You don't know the truth." What truth? Emily's heart pounded as visions of a deeper dread unfolded in her mind like a slowly unfurling set of bloody cards. What truths lay in the void? And what sacrifices would she have to make to escape this time? Emily's heart raced as shadows surged forward, twisting and writhing like a beast hungry for fear. Dread clung to her like cold, wet fabric, but a flicker of resolve ignited within. She couldn't let them take Julia. Not now. Not ever. Julia! She called out, forcing her voice through the crushing darkness. Hold on to me. We're getting out of here. She grasped her daughter's small hand tightly, pulling her close as the shadows clawed at their heels. They darted towards the brilliant light, nearly blinding in its intensity, but it flickered dangerously, as if threatened by the encroaching darkness. Mommy, they're coming! Julia squeaked, her voice laced with terror, but Emily squared her shoulders. No! They won't take you away from me. Anger blazed through her veins, burning away the fear. She pivoted, facing the swirling mass of shadows. You think you can take us? You're wrong. We're stronger together. The air crackled around them, infused with the energy of her unyielding love. The shadows began to falter, recoiling from the light as if it were a sacred barrier. Emily's heart hammered in her chest. Was this the moment they would break free? In an explosive fusion of light, Emily felt her memories surge forward, the laughter, the warmth, the fierce love she had for Julia. Each recollection wrapped around them like armor. The shadows hissed and shrieked, their forms shifting wildly under the weight of her determination. Remember our hikes? The time we built the biggest blanket fort? Emily's voice rang with urgency, pulling Julia's thoughts back from uncertainty. Those moments can't be erased. Mommy, I remember. Julia smiled, a flicker of safety sweeping over her fear. Yes. We choose to hold on to those times. With every cherished moment conjured, the light pulsed brighter, piercing through the shroud of darkness, and the shadows writhed in disbelief. You can't escape. You'll pay for this. The creature roared, its voice dripping with fury. But Emily stood tall, a wall against the tide. I refuse to let despair win. The shadows convulsed, shrieking as they recoiled from the living light. No. You cannot withstand our power. But it was too late. The brilliance of their love surged forward, engulfing the dark figure. Emily focused all her energy, pushing against the nightmare, forcing the malevolent entity to explode like a shattering mirror, splintering into shards. In a flash, everything vanished. Emily and Julia stumbled forward, flung into a sprawling meadow filled with golden sunlight, the warmth enveloping them like a cherished blanket. "Mommy?" Julia whispered. With frantic breaths, Emily turned to her daughter, wild joy bubbling in her chest. "You're here. We made it." Julia's face lit up, her giggle returning, sweet and comforting. The meadow stretched endlessly, alive with colors and echoes of freedom. But something flickered at the peripheral, an unsettling feeling. They were safe for now. Shadows still lingered in the corners of her mind, a promise that the darkness would return, lying in wait, hungry for a moment of despair. Emily knelt next to Julia, holding her close. "I know it's not over," she said softly, gripping her daughter's shoulders. "But I will always fight for you. I'll never stop finding us the light." As they embraced, Emily felt an unshakable bond growing stronger, fed by love and unwavering hope. She might not have all the answers, but she learned one undeniable truth: they had the power to face darkness together. And as they rose and walked hand in hand through the sun-drenched field, a new resolve blossomed within Emily. They would build new memories, fortifying their hearts against the shadows. They were a team. With each step, she felt the chains of fear loosening, and optimism expanding, a heart full of fierce, unwavering determination that would face whatever haunted them in the shadows, together. But lurking just beyond the edges of that bright meadow, the darkness unfurled, a reminder that battles were far from over, the whispers yet to be silenced. "Mommy," Julia said, her small voice breaking the tranquil silence. "Yes, sweet girl. Promise you'll always be with me." "Always," Emily smiled, her heart swelling with love. With that promise echoing between them, they turned toward the horizon, stepping side by side into a future filled with both light and shadows, determined to conquer whatever horror lay ahead. Need a dose of inspiration? Here's where you come in. Don't sit on the sidelines. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us spread these tales. Flood the comments with your reactions and ideas about this gripping conclusion. And do not wait even one more second. Share this video with 5 friends who need to experience this wild ride. Your support means the world to us.